Also with great pleasure that I call Alicia Kearns for her Maiden.
I thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, for allowing me to make my first speech in this House, in this debate on a most consequential Queen's speech. It has been an honour to be present in this great chamber today, to hear the contributions of parliamentary veterans and new recruits alike, and I can only hope to emulate them. Honourable and right honourable members, the mystical beauty of Rutland and Melton stretches from the Vale of Belvoir in the north down towards Rutland Water and the delights borrowed from the district of Harborough. I note the member for Harborough is not here, so I can talk about stealing from him. The natural landscape is adorned with architectural magistries of many beautiful market towns. Now, we are proud of our role in feeding the nation, with arable, dairy, sheep, pig, poultry and even bison farmers, who for generations past and generations to come have ensured that food quality, animal welfare and environmental conservation are paramount to their trade. Towards the centre of the constituency is the rural capital of food, Melton Mowbray of pork pie fame. And I can promise you, Madam Deputy Speaker, we will hear much of the pork pie over the next few years.
I hope.
We can also boast that we are home to not just one, but two geographically protected delicacies, which are, to repeat, the famous Melton Mowbray pork pie and Stilton cheese. Now, while agriculture is our chief activity, there is light industry as well. Members will be particularly interested to hear of the Clipsham Quarry at the constituency's eastern edge. For when Parliament was undergoing restoration work in the previous century, it was from here that the stone was supplied. Unfortunately, however, my constituency has had a precarious history, and its beauty and rural spirit has not always proved a sufficient defence against the palace courtiers and planners in London, who since at least the 12th century have thought Rutland a foolish accident. It is, I think, little coincidence that the year that the county was absorbed into Leicestershire, despite fervent local protest, was the year after the UK joined the European community. Now, the eternal tension between county and city was played out on a larger scale as the community became a union. And perhaps we have come to learn from both episodes that identities are important at all levels. Cosmopolitan and parochial worldviews can coexist as long as there is respect between the two. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, back to Melton. It was in the Leicestershire part of my constituency, of pork pie fame, that I was interested to discover that it is from here that the phrase "paint the town red" originated. In 1837, an eccentric aristocrat by the name of Henry de la Pure Beresford, of course I won't claim he's necessarily related to the honourable member of the same name, turned up at the gates of Melton with his, shall we say, over-refreshed band of friends and refused to pay the tollgate fee to enter the town.
Definitely related.
They then happened upon a pot of paint, red paint, and proceeded to apply a fresh coat of red paint to every doorstep on the high street. Now, personally, I was rather afraid that Momentum, who besieged the constituency during the election, were going to do the exact same thing. But fortunately, we were spared. I would like at this point to thank the people of Rutland and Melton for putting their trust in me, for I trust the collective wisdom of the people to choose what is appropriate for them at any given time, and it is for all of us here who must guard against complacency. It is in this spirit that I hope my service will be characterised. As significant powers return to this Parliament, our roles as constituency MPs have never been more important. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, it is the silent victories that will define my time as an MP. To secure new housing for a constituent, to resolve an issue dividing a family, to fix a failure in the system, or to restore strength and stability to a community. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is in our constituents' darkest moments, when they have nowhere else left to turn, that it becomes our duty to give a voice to the voiceless, to speak of the unspeakable, so that no one suffers in silence. Now, the people of Rutland and Melton have had an excellent advocate in Sir Alan Duncan. For 27 years, he served his constituents, and I plan to be here just as long. He served served his constituents with great diligence and care, his party's front bench with consummate political skill, and his country with distinction. In his maiden remarks, he lamented that Rutland had been abolished as a county in 1974. Now, thanks to his efforts, it has regained its own postcode, become a unitary authority again, and I wear its badge with pride. But not to fear those from Leicestershire, I also wear that badge as well. I wish also to salute Sir Alan's courage in being the first openly gay Conservative MP on this benches, and I'm proud that our party is home to all. Now, it is fitting that I've been given the opportunity to make my maiden remarks in a debate on Britain's place in the world. As International Development Minister, then as member of the Security and Intelligence Review Committee, and finally as Minister for Europe and the Americas, Sir Alan was a steady hand for our allies and all those engaged in our foreign policy. He has helped ensure that Britain remains the foremost voice in the world for parliamentary democracy, fundamental liberties, and a free economy. Now, this Queen's speech demonstrates that the government understands the threats our nation faces, and that the nature of warfare has fundamentally changed. It is no longer a story of traditional military conflict, a set battle space in which infantry, artillery, ships, boats and planes fight it out until the last man is standing. The battle is now fully hybrid in nature. Now, by that, I mean the sustained and persistent and strategic deployment of all potential instruments of influence: economic, informational, military, cultural, cyber, diplomatic, criminal and civil society. Now, hybrid warfare is not necessarily a factor in an overt or declared war. It is now deployed concurrently in peacetime and wartime. And crucially, the actors are occluded, since the most effective enemy is the one who deploys forces against you without you even realising that you are under attack or in conflict. This means the threats we now face are from states who behave like terrorists, terrorists who behave like states, and individuals who can effect as much damage as previously only states and well-funded groups were thought capable. Now, hybrid warfare is no longer an esoteric afterthought, rather the whole lens through which our defences and diplomatic efforts should be assessed during the Foreign, Defence and Security Review we are rightly proposing to deliver. We must recognise that to protect ourselves, we must bolster and defend all levels of our society, not just military infrastructure and capabilities. And we must recognise that to defeat our enemies, we will have to possess truly hybrid offensive and defensive capabilities ourselves. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, for nearly 1,000 years, Rutland's motto has been multum in parvo, much in little. The same could be said for this great country. It was not through vastness that we have become a beacon in the world, but rather the commercial talent of our citizens, the power of our ideas and the strength of our democracy and laws, which by unapologetic defence have stood the defence of time and the test of time. Now, lest I be accused of already trying to attract the attention of the Prime Minister with the use of classical phrases, if it works, that's not a problem, there is another Greek aphorism which I believe complements the Latin. Know thee se auton, meaning know thyself. And this has always been a sound basis for British foreign policy. So more than ever now, in a world of hybrid warfare, we must be temperate where possible, decisive when necessary. And these phrases, much and little, and know thyself, will guide me to serve the good people of Rutland and Melton and to achieve those silent victories. Thank you. Yeah.